Armando. Okay, I'm having to record this again. So it'll probably be a little more subdued, so that'll be good for you. First of all, thanks for answering. It was a worthy reply enough for me to want to answer it. Okay, but you have so many things wrong, just so many things backward, and it really is a microcosm of what I'm complaining about anyway. First of all, to cover this out of order, I'm not mad because I was banned from Daily Kos. Okay, I was mad at Daily Kos about these things, and that led to my eventual banning. Okay, it is not that I got on a train to London and then didn't want to go to London. I got on a train to London and during the trip found out we were really going to Manchester. Okay. I didn't want to go to Manchester. In this metaphor, London was a place where there's a broad progressive coalition from conservative Democrats who happen to know the war was a stupid idea, all the way through to pacifists that always think it's a stupid idea, street activists that believe in that kind of activism, and activists from the ACLU that believe in a nonpartisan progressive action. Okay, the destination was changed on us, and when I was kicked off the train, just in the country, on the way to Manchester, I actually do have a reason to say, hey, at least take me to Manchester so I can catch a fucking train to London, like planned. And so I'm not mad that I was banned. I was already using the site less. I was already disillusioned with the site less. But I do think that there's a especially objectionable thing in that I was not banned for anything that I did at Daily Kos or wrote at Daily Kos. I was banned because I help administer another blogger's blog, a woman that got her start at Daily Kos, and as well, and also has been banned. And a user at that site used to be employed by Marcos, a programmer, and he wrote an analysis of Marcos's business plan, a critical analysis. And I promoted it. I took it from the diary space and put it on the front page. In the diary space, it just would have been a title on the front page, just the title would show. And I moved it and made an actual article on the front page, which shows that, Kos, who started out saying that his community would be self-regulating, that he was a libertarian, he would run it on the libertarian principles. And this is a guy who will say anything he wants to, about those, as I pointed out, you say screw him about those, contractors that got burned and hung from the Fallujah, from the bridge in Fallujah. And, I would never say something like that. But I did defend him because I'm like, well, that's what Kos is saying how he feels. And he believes that those contractors are like mercenaries and they're paid more than the grunts that are in the army. And it's not fair. It's not right. And I still think it was, somewhat inhumane. But because of my belief in, free speech, I think, well, this is okay. What he's really saying has the point of he doesn't believe in the security contractors. He believes they're mercenaries in the negative sense of that. Okay. Now, as far as practicality, I don't think you really are thinking about this. We have been losing to conservatives for decades now. For decades. This game of it's more practical to tell lovely lies. Progressivism doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It's not made up of pretty lies that appeal to people because they're lies and the reality doesn't matter. Progressivism only appeals because of reality. Because it's like people are really starving in the streets. It's like it's not that kids can't work, it's that, oh my God, they're working 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they never get to get an education. So there's practical facts that we bring in to politics. And if we never turn the conversation to these realities, then we're never going to win. And think about this. Do you know where the bridge to nowhere phrase came from? That's not from this election. Okay? That's not from a Republican, from a liberal perspective or Democratic perspective. That bridge to nowhere phrase came from all the we hate government, don't make us pay taxes crowd. They're the ones that cast that as a bridge to nowhere. And you buy it. You think the bridge was just being made to spend money on a bridge. No. Do some research. A couple hours online. I'm not from Alaska. A couple hours online, you can read articles all through this. They built that airport on the island in the 60s because it was cheaper. There's flat land there. There's no flat land around Ketchikan. It's on this island. So they saved a lot of money. And it's quite obvious that you might want to have a bridge to your airport. And people thought that all along. They want to bridge their airport because they want to bridge their airport. They don't want an expensive bridge because it's expensive. Right now, they're trying to rework the plans to figure out how to make a cheaper bridge. They want it because it goes to their airport. They may not deserve it. I may want, a Ferrari to drive to the store. You know, doesn't mean I deserve it. Doesn't mean I can afford it. But the debate is about actual transportation. They want to get to that. You believe not. Well, you have invoked a conservative frame, and you got to learn a little cognitive science here. People think in metaphors. And I'll talk about that in a second too, just metaphors. But people think in metaphors, okay? And when you use conservative metaphors, they actually become more conservative when that's going on. If you fill a person's head with conservative metaphors, about tax relief and bridges to nowhere, and then ask them who they're going to vote for, they'll get a more conservative answer. That's how this mental programming works, turns out. So I'm not against metaphors. I said I think all thinking is in metaphor, certainly political thinking. I just don't like lying metaphors. I like apt metaphors, okay? Apt metaphors. The bridge to nowhere as a metaphor says that an international airport is nowhere. It's nowhere, okay? That's not a conservative, excuse me again, that's not a progressive attitude on infrastructure. That's not a liberal attitude on infrastructure, okay? Infrastructure is not nowhere. Infrastructure is health. That's strength. That's what we need in this country. Our country's falling apart. Okay? If you want to say, no, we don't want a bridge to this airport, it ought to be because we have other infrastructural needs. Not because, oh, they just want to spend money. Because that's not true. It's not true. And it's not true. Okay? I don't even know why you think that. As far as criticizing Daily Kos when they've done good things, is first of all, I said there's still good things going on in Daily Kos. Because there's still peer-to-peer communication. He severed my tie with other Daily Kos users. Fine, I can live without it. But he did sever that tie, and I will say that tie was severed. But there's still other people that are doing things that Kos doesn't necessarily believe in, and it's happening through his site. Okay? But just in general, I've criticized Kos and the way he runs the site and what his real politics are and how he thinks of strategy. Now, Kos is insulted, literally insulted, not even just criticized, but insulted and called names of strong liberal organizations like the ACLU, like the Sierra Club, okay, like the DLC for that matter. I think the ACLU's done a hell of a lot of things for liberal causes. What do you think? I think the Sierra Club, I go to hearings about, development projects and environmental issues. Sierra Club always has someone there. Kos doesn't. Kos isn't there. Daily Kos people aren't there. And he's actually called for defunding Sierra Club. Don't send any more money to the Sierra Club. And who's going to take their place? Who's going to... I go to these hearings. The Sierra Club's the only one standing up for the progressive and environmentalist side of those things. 9 times out of 10. Okay. So he could criticize them, right? And he and I together can criticize the DLC who got Clinton in power. This is the only president we've had for quite a while. There's an accomplishment there. He can criticize them. And I can criticize them with him. Everything's fine. But if I start defending the ACLU or the Sierra Club or defending people that want to write calls for impeachment, suddenly that's not okay. We have to criticize just the same liberal organizations. Kos goes way out of his way to criticize liberal people. He calls feminists the sanctimonious women's study set, but that's okay. No, I don't think it's okay, and I'm going to criticize Kos for that kind of stuff. They changed the destination, okay? If there was a clearly stated objective, it was to be a place where all kinds of progressives could get together. Conservative liberals, but conservative Democrats, all the way to progressive and activist liberals. That was the destination. That was London. We found out we were going to Manchester, the same old shit, the same old run-down shit. Okay, so that doesn't mean Daily Kos won't still be involved with, great things. But I'll tell you what, it won't be responsible for them. It'll be just because he's got a website and people are talking to each other, and those people happen to be more progressive or together than Kos himself is. But you can go with the, the fact of the matter is I got mad at how that site evolved, and then I got banned. It's more practical for you to pretend that I got banned for some mysterious reason, and then I got upset. So you'll choose the practical one and call it a metaphor, perhaps? I don't know. I wouldn't.